are live here at the Huevos Ketchup podcast. You got me, Bobby Mack, and Ray here. We got a special guest with us today, Scott. What's going on, Scott?
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Hey, we're doing good, man. Hey, so Scott's been a buddy of mine for how long? About 2 years now?
Yes, I believe so. 2+ years.
Yeah, about 2+ years. So we're continuing the vegan podcast from last time. We got a lot of listens. We got a lot of comments. So Scott, you used to be vegan, right?
Yes, I used to be vegan.
So vegan as in like you were all the way vegan, or just more of just what you ate?
So one thing, so that's the big thing about veganism is you have to be very careful, because vegan is not just what you consume. It's about what you wear, the clothing you wear, the health and beauty products that you use, the toothpaste you use, what kind of interior your car is. So to call yourself a vegan, you have to be very careful, because other vegans call you out. And let's just be honest, veganism, it's a religion, okay? I mean, that's what it is. So yes, I was that for about 6 months, and then I went into vegetarianism. All in all, I probably did that for almost 2 years.
So then, did you?
So I'm sorry, you were that?
Well, let's just say
that high level of
that
it?
my nutrition, my diet was vegan. My other, because I still wore leather pants that I had, leather belts, my car interior's leather, so I was not a vegan per se.
Did you feel like there were any health benefits, like while you were vegan for those? Actually more vegan in your diet than anything else. Like, did you feel there were more health benefits?
So can I walk you through my history of doing that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the reason why that we did that was because my sister-in-law started a vegan diet, no animal products, because of a video she saw. I think she saw the customary video where you see all this stuff going on.
Like the face your food?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so because of that, my wife wanted to try it. So we tried, and that was the main reason. And probably for a few months, there are health benefits, because just with any new diet that you try, you're eliminating, what we eliminated was sugars and all those other things. So yes, it did at first have health. Like I did lose weight. My cholesterol went down and things like that.
So then, in the beginning of it, you can testify to say yes in the very beginning, because again, like you said, you're cutting out those things like sugar and all these other things. Well, I mean, typically, right?
Yes.
And so then you will see some health benefits in the beginning, right? But
yes, but I've tried all kind of different methodologies of eating, and that happens just with any ones that you do. So I wouldn't say it was specifically because of that.
Were you doing more like a raw vegan diet, or?
No, we were doing, so at first we were doing mainly vegetables. Okay. And I guess you could say why we stopped and why we finally had to stop was because we were vegan/vegetarian diets have a high concentration of processed foods.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And so there is no one right diet, or let's just say nutrition, for people, because what works for me may not work for you, because you could go totally carnivore and it works. It may not work for me, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that a lot of scientific experts come to a conclusion on is either reduce or eliminate, really, sugars, refined sugars, and processed foods from your diet.
Yeah.
So okay, so then because this is what kind of the conversation that I was having with Ray, because when Ray eats his vegan stuff, when I was looking at the back of the package,
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a scientist. I don't know any. I mean, obviously, look, I'm about to audition for my 600-pound life here pretty soon, and I don't know anything that much about nutrition. But when I was looking at the back of the box, the sodium content just in itself was like, I mean, I haven't seen food other than salt that is that high in sodium.
We all have what's called gut microbiomes, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of processed food, okay, if you can't pronounce what those ingredients are,
You probably shouldn't be
eating them. And a lot of time those, let's just call them chemicals, they're destroying your gut microbiome. And, when you eat meat, the ingredient in beef is beef.
Yeah.
When you're eating a carrot, the ingredient in a carrot is a carrot.
Yeah. So but like I totally agree with you. Like if you can't pronounce it, it shouldn't be in your body. You know.
Yes,
But which is why like I can pronounce McDouble pretty good. So I think that's going to work out for me. But okay, so then so then you start to see some health benefits, right? And then you start to, I guess, kind of really start to believe in the vegan diet. So when did did you ever start to feel bad? Not like obviously emotionally, but like did your body start to have feel bad from that diet?
Yes. So we were eating a lot of Franken foods, I guess you could call them. A lot of what's now Beyond Meat and all that stuff. And it got to a point to where I was having some serious digestive issues, and I always felt like I was in this fog, like my mind, my brain was in this fog. And so we actually we wanted to introduce some animal products, so we went more vegetarian. So we had milk and cheese, which made things a little better, but I still had those.
That's the hard. I think the hardest part is cutting out the cheese part.
So then, I guess so then things started out good, and then you said you felt that fog in your brain, or you felt that fog in your head, and you didn't really feel all that well. So then, did you stop? I guess cold turkey. Did you completely stop, or did you stop doing vegan? Did you just come to a halt, or did you just kind of wean yourself off of it?
Yes, it just came to a strict halt, I guess.
Okay, so then what was the first non-vegan food you had after you did that? Did you go straight for the steak? What did you do?
So it was a progression. It was vegan to vegetarian.
Okay, vegan to vegetarian.
And then vegetarian, that's when it went off. And probably for me, the biggest kicker of when I said that I'm done with this is that I've been always fitness conscious.
Yeah.
Okay. And before I went vegan and then vegetarian, I had some pretty good amount of lifts, and one of the biggest lifts that I had at the time was a deadlift. It was 405-pound deadlift.
Yeah.
Well, it progressively got worse, and it got to a point where I couldn't even lift 315 pounds. I couldn't even pick it up off the ground because, for me, it made me very lethargic. That diet started making me very lethargic. Started making me just very unmotivated, basically. It just made my body feel blah. And, because to get the amount of protein that I would need to upkeep my level of fitness, I would have to eat 20 pounds of garbanzo beans.
Yeah.
And then, so I was also supplementing, and it just was not enough protein. So I got to a point where I lost motivation in the gym because of how weak that I got. And so what I did is I said, okay, I need to find a new place to go train. And as I was training, my lifts came up a little bit. And I had two different coaches ask me, what is your nutrition like? Tell me. And I said, I'm vegetarian. And the first thing that they said was, you've got to introduce meat back in your diet. And I was like, well, I've got, and they said, listen, the amount of protein you can get in 6 ounces of steak, the concentration is just there.
Yeah.
So I struggled with that for a while. But when I started introducing meat back, man, I tell you, my lifts, my whole fitness went through the roof again.
It's so funny, how you're kind of mentioning about how how you were feeling when you started to feel bad on the vegan diet. It's almost very similar to as where people are eating unhealthy, in the sense of they're consuming a lot of carbs and sugars.
Yes.
There's that lethargy, aspect of it. There's that just kind of unmotivated, where you see with a lot of people that are extremely overweight. And then again, mirroring with the vegan diet, like you were saying, because you're missing so much of what you need.
One of the biggest deficiencies of vegans and vegetarians is B12.
Yeah.
And you can only supplement so much, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
that's, man, I mean, because I can tell you that, I feel, I kind of feel that same way, because, again, I eat, for the most part, I eat what most science would probably consider rocket fuel or something. I don't know, just gasoline. I don't even know what it is. But I can tell you that I've had that, I've had those things the foggy mind and kind of the unmotivated deal. But there's just no way that, I can't see the point in going vegan. Oh, okay. Actually, hold on. Let me rephrase this. Hold on. It's not that I can't see the point in going vegan. I just disagree with the reason, kind of like what you were saying earlier about how, like, with the whole thing, like, where it's like face your food and stuff like that. Because you know what? Those videos, I'm sorry, like those videos where they show like where they're beating, peeing on the cows and stuff like that, like those are all like happening in other, you know what I mean? Like they're happening in some, like, by the Amazon.
So let's address what I think is something that most people don't realize about their food. Unless, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, unless you know unequivocally, matter of a fact, that the food that you're eating, those plants or fruits, have been sown by hand and harvested by hand, you have blood on your hands.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've ever been out to a farm.
Yeah, that's what he was trying to tell
But
me.
when you see those machines working, there's, number one, there's insects that are getting destroyed out there because people are spraying those crops to keep them off. That there's rodents and varmints and birds that live up in there and they eat those crops. So the farmers are going in there, killing those birds and those animals so they can keep the crops from not getting taken by them. And then when they get harvested, they're not going through and clearing nests of rodents or birds. All that stuff is getting churned up.
Yeah.
So guess what? If the face of your food bothers you, if seeing a cow like that bothers you, you may pass out watching the kind of horrors that happen with just a field getting harvested.
Yeah, see, and again, like that's
So hold on. So hold on.
No. See, but that's always been my argument is that, like,
But what's to say that a cow's life is more important than a foal's life?
but it's not.
See, that's the ticky-tackness that you start running into with the religion of it, right? Because it comes to a point where it's just like it becomes tiresome.
Yeah.
and
it's ridiculous.
Okay, no, that's a very good point. I hadn't really thought about it until he brought it. I don't know if you got it from him or what it was, but so then obviously now I can think about it that I shouldn't assume that Morning Farms cares, because they are a business, so they're probably having people that don't necessarily care about whether they're shooting birds or putting the pesticides.
If it's a business, they're ruthless. You're
stupid. No, but that's a good concept of it because I just assumed
have no argument because it's all garbage.
Well, hold on, no, because
unless but just like unless like what Scott just had said, unless it is being planted by.
But we don't know if these companies are doing it like you said by hand.
You know how much labor.
That's actually probably something I got to look into.
Okay, because you know how much.
I know labor intensive. Yeah, I know.
Labor intensive. So I don't. Again, I just can't. I can't get on board with the whole vegan thing. Because again, it's unless you're planting your own crops, like if I go back out there and if I say I'm vegan, right, and I go out there and I have my own crops and I'm doing that by myself, hey, you know what? I can get on board with that. Like I could because you're doing everything yourself. But at the same time, it's like don't make the argument that you're doing it because of cows or pigs that get slaughtered or they get mistreated and then slaughtered. It's just like, no, I mean, it's just not, I'm sorry, it's not a good argument. If you don't want cows to get slaughtered and whatever, then just don't eat meat.
This movement that people say, I know that my health is declining because of what I'm eating. Because the two most important things that we need for our health is number one, sleep. You got to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Got to.
Second thing is nutrition, right? Mm-hmm. So some people will say, I will sacrifice my health to make sure an animal benefits. This is just my personal take. I am looking out for my own health, okay?
Yeah.
I want to be here for my children, for my grandchildren. I don't want to be like my parents. My mom passed a few years ago, bad health, bad diet. My dad's terminally ill, I don't know if I told you. Mm-hmm. He has months to live. I care about my health, okay? And so for me, the people's one thing that we have to stop doing is we have to stop anamorphizing, whatever that word animals. Yeah. Animals, we cannot portray human traits upon animals. They are not Flounder from The Little Mermaid. They're not Bambi. They're not, all these things that we see on TV. We want to put animals like humans. They're not. Animals do certain things. They eat, sleep, reproduce, and defecate. That's what they do. I mean, they don't feel the way. And yes, I see those things about animals in farms, and it upsets me. It angers me that those things happen. They shouldn't happen. Those, they are horrible things. But, I've sent Bobby pictures of animals in the wild that die. I mean, those are horrible deaths. I mean, that you see the pictures of, the videos of a bear eating a calf that has just been born. It's alive and this bear's eating it. There's, the ones of the antelope with the wolf, and it's,
I've seen that.
There's animals that, a elk walks on the slope of a hill, it falls, it breaks its neck, and it lays there and it just dies for hours. I mean,
so let me ask you this.
So I guess that what I'm trying to say is that it just doesn't bother me.
What doesn't bother you? Sorry.
So I guess that you could say that the animals being consumed as food, it just doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
okay.
Because
but it does bother me the practices.
Okay, so let me ask you this
of the human practices.
Because I think I've had this conversation with him before. I don't think we've done it on the podcast, but I know there are people that they're kind of like you, where they can understand, having to consume the animal for our health, but the process of, and I'm just going through this one, like a chicken, they'll hang it by its feet, run it through that little fan belt, and then the throat, or hanging the cow by the leg or whatever. Do you think there is a more, I don't want to say ethical way of killing them, or a lighter way of doing it versus the way they're doing it now that can help people feel a little bit better about them consuming it?
Yes. So Bobby and I have actually talked about this, about going hunting, about actually going and getting our own meat, because then there's a more reverent feeling, right? Our ancestors, our human ancestors have done that for eons, not millennia, but for eons. They've gone out, they have hunted animals, and it was a reverent thing. It just wasn't like, oh, just let me go out and kill this animal, because I'm a psychopath and I want to hurt animals. It was a very reverent thing. It was the whole process of the hunt, the whole respecting of the animal, using the whole animal. So that's one way, hunting. Second, if you don't want to hunt or can't hunt, there's places where you can get your meat. Just do your research and find out what are places that treat animals well, that do the slaughter process in an ethical way.
Yeah.
We have that power as consumers. That's part of capitalism. Yes, that it may cost more money, but
people may be able to sleep better.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just, it just like Scott was saying about going out to hunt and get your own meat. I mean, like, I will definitely, and I'm going on air saying this, like, I will hunt for a Burger King to find so I can get my meat. But before
you take this too far.
So anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and go. Okay. So look. So first of all, I just want to address. I'm really sorry to hear about your dad. Very sorry to hear about your dad. That's obviously terrible news. That's. I mean, not that you're bumming out the podcast or anything, but we just wish you and your family the best. Obviously, because because here at the Huevos Ketchup podcast, we love everybody. Yeah. So another thing that you were kind of addressing, and the thing that I feel, it doesn't bother me to kill animals or animals being killed for meat, because again, humans, we're designed to eat meat. I'm not saying beef specifically, but we're designed to eat meat. I was reading this. I was reading this article about how that's how the human brain evolved. Was that because of our consumption of the animal, from the fats to the meats to the organ meats to all this stuff. That's how our brain has evolved and has gotten bigger throughout these millions of years and whatnot. But obviously, like, for the mistreatment of them prior to being slaughtered, I'm sorry, but that's just a given. Nobody wants that. I don't care how much you love meat. Nobody wants their pig that or pork chop that they're about to have, knowing that that this pig was severely mistreated and then slaughtered.
Right, because well, one of the things, especially for hunters, is why they want to make a quick kill, of why they want their shot, whether it's with a bullet or an arrow, why they want the animal to drop within 2 steps. It's because if an animal has to linger on, it releases chemicals, almost like endorphins, that makes the meat very tough. So it's almost it. And plus, we want to have some reverence, whether it's a chicken.
Yeah.
There are quicker and faster ways of slaughtering a chicken than slicing its neck. You can just take the neck right off.
Yeah.
Or you can take the head right off. Those are more ethical ways because, I imagine, and it happens in San Antonio all the time. People have chickens here and foxes here get in here. And they see feathers everywhere.
Yeah.
So, which is the worst way, of a fox getting into a hen house here, or you hear, one of your chickens are taking it and whack, and then it's done.
But you know what was the craziest thing one of the craziest things I've seen my grandma grab a chicken by the neck and twirl it around like one of those fucking carnival, those cat, what are they called? Those knock, what are they called?
Yeah, the little
those ball knockers. What do you call ball knockers? I've seen her take a chicken by the neck, twirl it around,
So
and it snaps, and the fucking body went like 10 yards that way. Yeah.
The head came off?
Yeah, the head came off. It was the craziest I've ever seen in my life. She just grabbed it and just and the body went flew down to the yard.
Yes,
Man.
the first hunting experience I had was dove hunting. And of course, when you shoot the bird, and a lot of times that you clip a wing and it falls. And I was with my friend and his dad. His dad was like, as soon as that bird goes down, go run over there, get it, grab its head, put it between your fingers, twist and pull.
Damn.
He said, and decapitate it. He said, because you don't want it suffering there.
No, not at all. Just fucking rip its head off. That's so crazy.
Hunters get a bad rap.
Yeah.
But good hunters, they want to have, again, they have reverence for that.
Yeah.
They don't want that animal suffering, 1, and 2, they don't want that endorphin rush.
So then if I eat a piece of, let's say, elk steak, and that elk steak is a little tough, I can assume that elk was trying to get away after they shot it.
Yes.
Okay, dang. That's that's something I think people should know. I mean, it may sound gruesome to some people, but that's definitely information that some people should know. Hunters don't, I would say most, okay, I'm not going to go for all hunters, but most hunters, like you said, aren't psychopaths out there trying to just kill animals just for, hey, I want to kill it.
Well, yes, and for instance, that when I buy, and I know we're probably getting off into left field, but when I buy a round of bullets, I'm funding conservation. Because when you buy hunting tags, when you buy weapons and ammo, that's funding conservation.
Yeah.
People are saying, oh, I love animals, I don't want to hurt them. Okay, well, what are you doing for conservation? Are you giving to these organizations, to the World Wildlife Fund? And the answer is usually no.
Okay, so I have two. I have two things. One I'm going to touch on just because you were just talking about it right now. The hunting. What about those people that will travel to Africa to take out a lion or another wildlife animal like that? How do you feel about them doing it for that reason versus?
So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Okay.
If you ever have an opportunity, whether you or the listeners, look up a gentleman by the name of Cameron Haynes.
He's also on the Joe Rogan podcast too, right? Okay, so I want to make sure that
and so one thing that he talks about is that these hunts that people do, again, those hunts, people are paying thousands of dollars over there. Okay, those thousands of dollars go into that community there, and or they go into say if you go to some reservation, within Africa, you're helping to fund that area, right? So your money's going back in there so they can keep it free of poachers. So they can make sure, that they having it properly secured and everything. So it's going back into conservation. And for the most part, the meat that they have, because even if they go out and they kill an animal, they will give that meat to the community
for them to have.
So are you saying that they're just doing it so they can keep the skin and?
Well, I mean, and some of the hunters are going there so they can go and capture an elephant. But what you don't, but what we don't see and what's not being told is the money that's number one funding conservation.
See, and I never even thought that would be.
Number two,
Most vegans don't.
Number two, that meat is put to use, okay? And then, the third thing is that animal populations have to be cold, right? For instance, in Vancouver, they're having a bear problem because the people of Vancouver voted to not hunt black bears. And it's right now, they are destroying what do they call it? The species of deer and antelope or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they're destroying all of those, that population. So anything that a bear can find to eat, so they're destroying the ecosystem there because they can't be cold. And now they're starting to come into people's land. So my thing is, I don't have any problem with that because, again, I'm going to ask people, what are you doing besides saying how bad a person is? What are you doing for these, I guess you could say for these areas, that these hunters go and hunt? What are you doing to help conservation? Are you giving your money for that? Or is it easier just to tweet at someone and say, oh, this person is horrible because they shot a lion?
Well, see, and again, like that's always been my argument with the whole vegan thing is that
yeah, but you never put it like this.
No. I'm not saying that I put it like that, but what I'm saying is that like vegans usually, not all, but a lot of them will try to point the finger and say you're a bad person because you eat meat. And you know what? I was okay. Well, then, like, what about protein and what about nutrition? Vegans always come back. Well, I get my protein and I get my stuff from beans, dude. Seriously, like, really? And it's like, I honestly just can't buy it. Like, I just can't buy it.
Well, I would just say that if it's working for you, if you're healthy, if you can actually live a healthy life, go for it. But if you're to a point where you're on medications, you have a lot of chronic diseases, maybe it's time to mix things up some.
Yeah, so that's
okay.
Go ahead.
Because I don't want to lose back on my very first one, but no, because this is actually a pretty good conversation. Those I don't remember the damn guy's name, but there's these vegan bodybuilders or things like that. Those guys that can have that physique and claim to be healthy, I'm pretty sure they didn't get that way initially just from being vegan all those 20, 30 years. I'm sure they were non-vegan to get to that point and they were able to maintain it. But what do you think maybe it's they're not really telling the truth or
so I don't know. I can't answer that because I don't know. And I don't want to speculate and I don't want to slander them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. But if they're actually doing it legit, well then great for them. So it means that their body is responding, right? But if you want to be a bodybuilder and one of your biggest things is nutrition, if your body's not responding, you're going to have to change things up. You're going to have the willingness to change things up. Like, for instance, when I was telling you that my foray with powerlifting, the coaches said, if you want to get stronger, this is what you have to do. And I wanted to get stronger. I took their advice. I started introducing meat back. And I'm telling you, Ray, within a month, I was off the charts. I had surpassed all of my previous personal records.
See,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. See, and then my point with that is that steroids are vegan because.
Well, I was going to say that, but you're the one who
it's true. But you know what? I want to bring up the example, kind of like what he was talking about these vegan bodybuilders. Now, again, the guitarist that was from the Misfits, Jesus Christ, I can't remember his name. Wolfgang von Frankenstein, I think is his name.
Oh yeah.
He's 100% vegan. He's always posting stuff on his Instagram. I mean, like I follow him because I'm a huge Misfits fan. But
because you're old.
Yeah, because I'm old, right? But he is jacked. Yeah. This dude is. He looks better now than he did in his early 20s.
But do you think that's also because the people that have, more money to be able to
Well, yeah,
get,
but again, like that's my thing is that like also too, if you have the money, think about like what we were talking earlier. Remember we were joking about you being the president and like about how I said you're gonna have your own
the first
personal
Hispanic
chef.
president?
Yeah. So like you're gonna have your own personal chef. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you're gonna have the money for one, the money for those resources to tap. Look, because look, let's face it. Let's just say, for example, you want to eat grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef. It's not crazy expensive, but it's a lot more expensive than just a regular old slice of steak. Mm-hmm. And so, but if you have money, you're able to get those resources.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and stuff like that. And plus, like what you're saying earlier too about you supplementing. You know, hey, I can go buy a $15 bottle of vitamins, but what I really need is that $40 bottle of Pro Q10 or something or QQ or PQ10 or something like that.
But again, with anything you're putting in your body, you should know what you're putting in your body.
And I don't.
You know, you should. I just can't stress that enough. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and tell vegans that they're wrong. I'm not going to sit here and tell carnivores that they're wrong. You know, one of the biggest things that you and I always talk about is the right of the individual. I don't really care what you do. I don't really care what you eat. Just don't infringe on my rights.
Yeah,
live my life.
Exactly.
You know, and because because what's disturbing is that you see a lot of legislation about, oh well, like there's some in Italy some town wants to eliminate meat there, and it's like why would you do that? Why? I mean, what gives you the right to restrict that? You know, for me, that's where I draw the line.
Yeah,
because I'm not going to tell you, Ray, you have to eat meat. You know, I'm not going to make that a law. If that's how you choose to live your life, go ahead.
So one of my big things is I know the vegans are going to be very upset that listen to this podcast because guess what, vegans, on May 19th here in San Antonio, Texas, the Barbacoa and Big Red Festival's coming. Dude, I'll tell you what, I cannot get enough of barbacoa, dude. I love it. Matter of fact, my son, I took him to eat breakfast this last weekend, and he ate. He's 13 months old. He ate an entire. I'm not talking like just the inside. He ate a whole barbacoa taco, like the meat. Oh, and he loves it, dude. He loves it.
Can I? Again, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but may I just make a recommendation with barbacoa and Big Red?
Yeah.
Just go for just the barbacoa.
Man, dude, I can't have it without the Big Red.
When I ate it, I mean, I had to have the Big Red.
Yeah, you can't have barbacoa.
Are you from San Antonio?
No, I'm from Houston originally.
See, that's exactly what it is.
Well, you're not from here either.
It doesn't matter.
And that it's funny talking about tacos because my medical provider, he was telling me that he had a patient that was debating or asking him which kind of tortilla should I have, corn or flour?
Flour.
And he said a fork.
Oh no! Yeah, I've been told that too.
Oh yeah, right there.
This is where we can all agree.
Right, this is where we can. I know you and I can agree on this shit. No. Sorry, we need to have a tortilla with my barbacoa. The next thing I want to bring up is so Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell because I tell you what, if I'm ever constipated, eat some Taco Bell and you'll take care of that business. But Taco Bell recently, they're going to be testing out a vegan menu.
Yeah, right now they have the vegetarian menu right now.
I would definitely want to see the ingredients.
But again, just like what he was saying, like it's pretty much just going to be salt and I can even call it processed meat because I used to work at Taco Bell. Like I used to work at Taco Bell, and I remember, this was back. I was 16 years old. I used to work at Taco Bell, and the beans by itself, just the beans, came in a brown bag. And it wasn't beans; it was brown powder. It was a brown powder. And you put it in the hot water and you mix it up.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Was that true that with the meat too, that the meat came like in a frozen almost bricks almost that you put in the water and it became the meat?
Yeah. It came in what looked like, and again, I don't remember because I was 16. That was
30 or
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
20 years ago. And I remember it came in a clear bag. It looked almost like a powder. It's still. And remember we put it in the hot water in the bag. And magically, through chemical and wizardry, it would just turn into the Taco Bell meat. But I'm just like, I want to see what their vegan menu is. Whether you're a carnivore, regular, whatever, vegan, it doesn't matter. That's not meat. I'll tell you that, that's not meat. But you got a question, Ray? Either way.
Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about the veganism, you had talked about that where I can't remember the exact word you had said, but where pretty much we see a deer, we think the movie Bambi, you know, where
anamorphism.
Yeah,
It's animal.
I believe that's the term. And,
Animorphs.
And scientists, really scientists, say that we shouldn't do that. That it's unhealthy for us to do that.
And you know what? I think
Unhealthy mentally to do that.
That it's coming from I look at food from a more of a scientific than I do from a feelings point of view.
No, it's all
right?
in my feelings. I'm in my feels.
And so, because your feelings always change, right?
Yeah.
You know, because I could feel sad or happy, or whatever. But yes, but again, scientists say that it's number one, it's illogical for us to view that, and then second of all, it's just not a healthy thing for us to do.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's funny because I think it was always there in the back of my mind. That's what I'm doing, but I never really saw it as the problem. You know, when not saying that that's what you're telling me, that's what it is. But now going real quick to the domestic animals that we have Tipsy banging around in the background.
Oh yeah, so yeah, if y'all hear weird noises in the background, that's my dog Tipsy. It's not me beating my dick or anything. It's Tipsy. She's out there. She's actually in here.
It could be you doing that too.
It also could be. Yeah, she's in the Huevos and Ketchup kitchen right now, so she's cooking it up. Go ahead. We're live.
So for the people that do that for their dogs, would you be able to? Because obviously you seem to take her pretty well. If you had to, would you be able to? No, okay. Well, I won't say her because your owner's right here. But would you be able to take out a dog or a cat? Without seeing it that way, because I mean, there are people that obviously that do it in the U.S. It's not just in China or overseas.
Take out a dog as in just like is he being attacked?
Hunt it, like hunt the dog
So we do. So at least for, I guess you could say that for me, that I look at animals like there are animals that bring me joy, right? Dogs, cats, that they do bring me joy. I don't necessarily see an animal like this as food.
So
I guess for me, I can compartmentalize it. I can, I don't look at her like, oh, well, that I would eat her.
Damn, Dipsy.
And so even if it was
those back legs,
back legs, girl.
And so even if we were in an I Am Legend, type of scenario where it was me and it was just Tipsy and I probably still wouldn't.
Consumer.
No. I mean, things would have to be pretty darn drastic. It'd probably have to be like Soviet Gulag level kind of.
So domestic animals are off the table, at least in your book. Like a little bunny or.
Well, now I would eat a bunny, but I don't. I choose not to because they're kind of gamey, and I don't.
Okay, so dogs and cats are safe in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, if you're not sure about eating domestic animals, I mean, have you ever had Chinese food?
I haven't had it in China.
I haven't in China, but if you still, I mean, some of those places are pretty fucking sketchy. But no, I don't think I could ever eat a dog. Like, I mean, but just like
because we've had this conversation.
The only way that I could eat a dog, and it's not because I see them as people. It's because I couldn't eat a dog because it's ingrained in my mind that
it's a man's best friend.
It's right. Yeah, it's your best. I mean, even though you may not like the dog or whatever, but it's still man's best friend. Dogs live. They live with us, not just among us, but live with us.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And they provide functionality for us, right? Dogs.
Like therapy dogs, is that what you mean?
Well, dogs were originally domesticated by our ancient ancestors from wolves to help with the hunt.
Oh yeah.
So
dachshunds.
So they served they served a purpose. Cats, they were domesticated to whatever domiciles people were in, that they were used to help eradicate little varmints that got in there. So they serve a purpose. So why would we want to kill something off if this animal serves the purpose for us?
But that also goes along with, even if you had a pet cow, Like if you had a pet cow or like even a pet pig, because I want a pet pig, I don't give a shit. Like I want a pet pig someday. But if I had a pet pig, I'm not gonna look at that pig and think, oh, dude, pork chops. Like I'm not gonna look at it like that. Or even like something like a llama. You know how people have like pet llamas and they have pet goats and stuff. Like I'm not gonna I wouldn't look at that as a source of food. Because it's like
It's your pet.
It's your pet, and they live with you, not just so much among us. Like, does that make sense?
So you're saying to have, I mean, not that you actually have to have it, but there's animals that you can keep for product, and then animals that you keep for home.
Well, yeah, but because like I mean, again, even if you go out into the woods, right, and you see I don't know. I don't even know what the hell is in Texas, but like I said, you see like
A possum.
a possum, right?
I don't want to eat a possum.
No, I don't want to eat a possum either. But just like you're saying, it'd be pretty bad. Like it would. But like if you're out in the wild and you see like a bearded dragon, I don't know, like those little lizard things. Yeah, I guess technically you could kill it and eat it. I'm pretty sure you probably could, but you don't look at those animals and think, oh, bearded dragon sandwich or anything. You don't, you know what I mean? Like you don't think that. I mean, I personally wouldn't.
I'm sure you have.
I mean, no. Hey,
And plus, too, for our DNA, it's encoded to. We know what, at least animals, are going to yield us the highest level of protein, right? So that's why that that in the past our ancestors hunted buffalo and elk still today, because those have a high concentration of protein, and our bodies know that, right? I mean, DNA. I mean, it's encoded in our DNA to know that.
yeah. So, and then go ahead.
Real quick, just because we were talking about all this, I saw on Facebook, I don't know if I may have it incorrect, and you can probably correct me, that these animals that, of course, that we're consuming, that they're linked up to being one of or the highest cause of cancer in people.
So, and I'm glad that you brought that up. That was.
This is gonna go all day.
I believe that was on that documentary, What the Health, and that's been debunked. So, one of the things that people don't realize is that these were brought up by epidemiological studies. Okay. Mm-hmm. And these may be like the worst studies because it's basically me giving you a questionnaire and take it home, fill it out, and send it to me. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, the thing about that, first of all, is it just the steak that researchers are looking at? Or are they also looking at the side of macaroni and cheese that you've had with it? Or the loaded baked potato? Or the 64-ounce Big Red that you also ate with that meal?
Barbecue.
It's actually pretty good.
So the only way to scientifically say, yes, meat causes this, is that I would have to get you, I would have to isolate you in a room. Well, basically, I would have to monitor, I would have to direct your day-to-day activities. I would have to give you just steak every day.
Yeah.
Steak and
Make sure I
water.
didn't consume anything else.
Make sure that was it. Because the problem with that what they're finding out, it's not the steak. Is it the steak, or is it all the other things with the steak that you're eating that's
I would so
causing
do that study. Could you imagine having someone
And
just...
so that study, I believe the World Health Organization, or that the UN did, it was an epidemiological one, where they basically just gave people a questionnaire for them to fill out, which is not very, scientifically, it's not very reliable.
This is a good podcast.
No.
I just wish I had my backup today.
Yeah.
You can look up a gentleman by the name of Rob Wolf, ROBBWOLF, and he has the research on that.
That's awesome.
And he's an actual and he's an actual scientific researcher.
Sweet. So I want to close tonight's podcast with just kind of one more kind of general question for Scott Dunlap, who's graced us with his presence today. Great guy. So the one last question I want to close up with today, speaking of vegetables and stuff, there was that woman in Arizona who was in a vegetative state.
Pun intended?
Huh?
Pun intended?
Pun intended. And she was in a vegetative state and she got pregnant and had a baby.
Did you hear about that one?
No.
Yeah,
So,
the facility was Hacienda.
Yeah.
And she had been there for, I think, 12 years in a vegetative state. And they just found out that she was
She had the baby, like she was laying in her. I don't know what they.
Do they know? Okay.
No, now it's an investigation.
Yeah,
Someone was, you know.
So we know how people get pregnant.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm just
Yeah.
wondering how that. Okay, so you're.
Yeah. So I just.
He just needed a way to wing this in there.
Yeah, I just really wanted to just kind of make that joke. Like I bet you the guy that did it was a vegan. So.
He went for the vegetable.
That's right. He went straight for the vegetable. All right, guys. Hey, thanks again for tuning in, guys, to the Huevos Ketchup podcast. We love y'all. Thanks again for over 200 listens in a couple of weeks. We love y'all. Thank you guys so much for actually, taking us up and taking time to listen to us because we're just two pendejos in a podcast. All right, and again, thank you, Scott, for joining us.
Thank you.
We love having guests. Next week, guys, don't forget to tune in next week. We're going to have Mr. Frankie Danger, who was the lead singer from a punk band called Drink Fight Thugs. Also, a awesome, hilarious stand-up comedian here in South Texas. All right, guys, thanks again.